up? It's Way Up with Angela Yee. I'm Angela Yee, and I have two special guests here. They're married, they're a couple, but they're also television hosts, Dedric and Krystal Polite from 50/50 Flip.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you. It's definitely a pleasure.
And y'all know I love talking about some real estate. You know, and I like to talk about real estate with people who are actually doing the thing because we get to see you on TV as you go through the properties that you acquire, and then different things happen. You sell them. Sometimes you partner with other people to develop these properties. In one case, I think you paid for this rehab of a property for the women to move back in. You know, just a lot of different things that you guys have been doing in this space. And so for people listening, can you just talk about how you guys got into becoming real estate investors?
Man, I've been interested in real estate since I was a little kid. I've always wanted to become a real estate investor. I would see the late night infomercials on TV in the 90s, I'm talking about, and I always dream of it, but I never saw anyone that looked like me that was, driving the fancy cars and making money in real estate. And, I bought all the books, the tapes, went to seminars, but I was more of a entrepreneur at first. It wasn't until I met my wife, and she's really a serial entrepreneur, and she was the one who pushed me. She was like, hey, don't overanalyze it. We're going to do this. And we got into real estate probably about 7 to 8 years ago, and real estate is what changed our life, and now we're financially independent through investing in real estate, got a TV show, and we're passionate just about sharing that information with other people, how they can build wealth with real estate.
And Krystal, you guys, after 3 properties, you guys realized that y'all were making more in real estate than at your jobs, right?
Yes. So we strategically planned our exit. So, a lot of people get in real estate and they be like, oh my God, they do one deal and they're ready to jump ship from the 9 to 5. We was like, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it the smart way, strategically. And we strategically planned how I was going to exit first, right? So Dedric and I both had W-2 jobs. We were making more from his job. So over the course of a year, we said, okay, every quarter we're going to pocket a percentage of your paycheck so we are able to learn to live off of just one income.
Yeah, we banked part of your paycheck.
And we banked it every quarter, a percentage of my paycheck. And that's what we did over the course of a year. But we also did it that way so that Dedric's W-2 job could be our first private investor.
Okay.
Right? And doing that, meaning we used and leveraged his W-2 to buy as many rental properties as we could before he left his job. And we wanted to make sure that we had built up our passive income so that it was able to sustain us before he left his job.
So this was your idea, really, from the beginning.
It was Dedric's idea as far as real estate. That was his dream.
But you were like, we're going to just do it.
So
make it happen and have the plan.
Yeah, I got tired of hearing about it. He was like, reading
Sometimes
this book.
It takes a woman to be like, listen, stop talking about it. Let's just go.
She motivated
All
me.
day.
She gave me the push. Her dream is really to own a chain of family entertainment centers, which is like Dave & Buster's, Sky Zone trampoline parks. And when I told her that I wanted to do real estate, and I said, listen, we can accumulate a lot of properties and use the properties to finance your dream, which is building family entertainment centers, which is, $3 to $5 million projects just to build one of those. And that's actually what we're doing now.
Yep.
Okay, and you guys started off with wholesaling, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So explain what wholesaling is, because we always see people like, oh, wholesaling, we have these courses on how to do wholesaling. You don't need to have any money to wholesale. So for people who are listening, what is that?
So wholesaling is basically finding a highly motivated seller that has a property. The property may be distressed, it may be dilapidated, and they need to sell quickly. They can't wait to list it with a realtor. Getting that property under contract, typically you put down a small deposit to hold it, and you get 30 days to close. Once you lock it up under contract, you have what's called equitable interest, so no one else can buy it. Once you get the property under contract, you now control it. You find a cash buyer, a fix and flip investor like us, and then you simply assign your contract over to the other party for a fee.
Right.
So literally, you're the middleman or the middlewoman in the transaction, and you don't need a real estate license. You don't need a ton of cash, and that's how we got into the game. Our first deal, we made $11,000. Our first wholesale deal. Second one, we made $5,000. And our third deal, we made $105,000 wholesale on a property in Boston from North Carolina. We never even saw the property, but we knew it was in a Brooklyn type area that was gentrifying rapidly, and we made $105,000 wholesale on that.
That's
then we
crazy.
became cash buyers, and we started buying rental properties.
Well, I love how you guys managed to turn that around so quickly, too. That's really dope. And one thing I did realize, too, even like you said, a Boston area that was kind of like Brooklyn, right? What I realized is that, because I've done properties like flips in Detroit before, and Brooklyn, I haven't done that because Brooklyn is so expensive.
Yes.
Oh, a million
But what I
plus.
will say is the more you spend, the more you end up making. Like if it's a property that might cost a lot more,
Yep.
you know.
The
and
margins are a lot larger.
Yeah, the margins are a lot larger because sometimes with these flips, I'm like, damn, I did all this work and then, you know, to make X amount of money. Because the other thing I realized while watching your show, it does help when you have a team. Like people will say, Angela, because I haven't been doing flips at all anymore after those experiences, because it really could be a full-time
Yes,
job.
it is.
If you're not there hands-on and if you
Right.
don't have a team of people that are doing the work, sometimes that can actually end up costing you money.
Yep. It will
Absolutely.
cost. It will definitely cost you
A
money.
flip can easily turn into a flop if you have a bad contractor.
Have y'all had flops?
We
No.
have not had a flop yet
What a
because
blessing.
Right. I
You are
mean-
God's favorite.
not yet. When we buy, I underwrite it very conservatively, so I don't like to speculate. So you make your profit when you buy. But you're right. When you look at Detroit, which you can buy properties for $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, right? That price has gone up, but your margins may be $50,000 on the profit. Versus Brooklyn, you know, it's $1 million per property. You know, it's a lot more risk, but it's a lot more reward. You know, you can flip it and make $200,000-$300,000.
Now, on this last season of 50-50 Flip, you guys had your biggest deal to date that you said, and this was the finale
Yes.
of the
Okay,
season where
yeah.
you were like, we really proved ourselves with this property. So can you talk about that and what that feeling was like for you guys?
That was a doozy. The backstory to that is actually that property was listed on the MLS, and we typically don't buy on the market because typically once a property hits the market, it gets overpriced, it gets bid up. We usually buy direct from seller, right? But that one was on the market. It was like $85,000 or $95,000 was listed for. We got it under contract. We're like, all right, we're going to do this for the TV show. But we got it inspected. And always get a home inspection. If you're going to flip a house, get a home inspection before you buy it so you can find out where all the bodies are buried in the house, right? Where the problems are. And it was structural issues with the property. So we went back and renegotiated, and we had to say, like, look, we need this for $10,000 less because we're going to have to spend 10, 20 grand fixing the foundation. I didn't want to buy it. And Krystal's like, me and the contractor's like, we don't want it because this is going to be too many issues. And we thought it was a box of rattlesnakes, but Krystal's like, look, we need this house. We got to do it for the TV show. We're going to buy it.
I wanted the house.
Yeah.
It wasn't
She
even,
saw it. She had the vision.
I saw it from the very beginning, the potential because of the neighborhood surrounding this house. It was literally, and we try to teach people if you can buy the worst house on the best block.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. It was the only duplex in the area. It was that outlier. All the homes around it were historic homes, very beautiful homes. But the house was in horrible condition. So me and him, when I tell you what you see on TV, is the mild edited version.
There was poop everywhere.
Everywhere.
It was disgusting.
It was literally even on the walls, and people didn't see it. Like when I came in, I was like, oh my God. It was everywhere, all over the floor. And I told Dedric, I said, listen, typically for us, we want, as investors, you want more doors. Mm-hmm. So I told him, I said, we need to convert this into a single family. Not to mention all the issues. And then he was like, Dag, and convert it to a single family? What is you doing? And I said, trust me on this. As a visionary, I can see these things. And Dedric was like, all right, all the way up until the day before closing, Dedric was trying to back out of this property. Like,
I didn't see the vision.
Not before
I did not
closing.
see the
day
vision.
before closing, we're sitting there, and he's like, babe, you see what these quotes are coming back? I said, I don't care. We have committed to this. I want this house. Trust me on this. So we closed on it, and then it turned out that even a lot of the foundation issues wasn't as bad
As you thought, right?
as we thought
As
they
we
were going to
thought.
be once we got the structural engineer in there.
And then we ended up reconstructing, doing a
The
full gut rehab.
entire
So we didn't spend as
house.
much on the foundation, but we spent more on the framing and the construction. But it ended up working out. I mean, we made it almost 6 figures on that deal, so it ended up working out.
Yeah, that feels good. And I'm sure the neighborhood loved that because that was
Oh,
a
yeah.
blight on the whole neighborhood. Like, can we please get...
Listen, the whole historical society came out like, thank you guys so
For the
much for
open
fixing this
house.
house. They were giving us names like, hey, call this lady because her house is a mess. You need to buy this one
Yeah.
and buy that one and buy this
See
one.
if she'll let you rehab this one, because and it's the historical neighborhood, so you know how they take their houses and how serious they take their neighborhood. So everyone came out like, hey, listen, call Miss Mary because her house really needs some work, and see if you can buy this one. I mean, everyone was
Feel
coming
it.
out to
It was
these
a great
homes
impact.
just from that one house, but I knew that would be the case because of where that house was situated at.
Right. Y'all did an amazing job on that. I was looking at all
Thank
the
you.
details of everything from the bathrooms to the kitchen to you guys. Would you say the kitchen is the most important part of the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Hands down. Kitchens and bathrooms sell houses. And when you are trying to, even for us at the price point for which we are doing it, if you pick that house up and you put it in Charlotte or you put it in Raleigh, or New York, it's $500,000 to $1 million home. Mm-hmm. And we're putting it on the market for $300,000 at a starter price point. But we're giving you your forever home, right?
Luxury finishes.
And it didn't cost us an arm and a leg, even with the finishes and everything that we put into the house because of how we source our material, where we get our materials from, and how calculated we are, even with the budget, that you can give the people affordable luxury in these homes. And I think that was what's key for us as well, is that we give people that forever home on a starter high price point budget. And I think that's what's missing. Because, a lot of people go in their homes and they get contract to grade everything.
Yeah.
That's your starter home. You're going to get contract to grade. Unless you get someone else's home who came in and redid everything, you're going to get that contract to grade. Faucets, sinks, everything. For us, we've learned to really cultivate our design to the point where I want to make sure that this can be your starter home, but we're going to give it to you where it looks like it's a forever home.
What are some things that you can skimp on when it comes to pricing or when it comes to different things in a house? We talk about certain things are important, like bathrooms and kitchens.
Yep.
But where are some areas that you're like, don't bother spending a lot of money here?
I would say flooring. One thing is we don't go out and rip out the floors and put in new hardwoods all the time. We'll put down luxury vinyl plank, which is like that snap and click flooring. And instead of spending 10, 20 grand on new hardwoods, luxury vinyl plank may cost you $6 to $8 grand. And it looks really good. The nice gray with the white walls. So that's something that you can save some money on.
It's easy to maintain.
Easy to maintain, exactly. Durable.
Yep. I would even say cabinets. So we all know typically older homes are going to come with old cabinets. A lot of people still are going to the big box stores. Well, we don't. Source your materials straight from the wholesalers.
Right.
Source them so that our cabinets, typically even that house is maybe $2,500.
So you Google wholesale cabinet distributor in New Jersey, Brooklyn, and try to find that wholesaler versus going to the retailer that's going to mark it up 50%.
And if they're not in New York or New Jersey, have them ship it from North Carolina already assembled, and it'll cost you an extra $200-$300.
And Krystal, you're from North Carolina?
Originally, yes. But was raised in Boston.
Okay, so you're from there. So this has to feel nice to be, because Boston's expensive too, by the way.
Yeah.
But
like
North Carolina though is more affordable, and people are saying that's one of the places they always like, move to North Carolina.
Yep.
So how does it feel for you to be back where you're from and being able to do this work in the community?
I love it. I love it because this is where I got my roots from. This is where we chose to move to start our family as well. Because we did not want to start them in a big city, in Boston, because both of us originally, he's from South Carolina, I'm from North Carolina. So we wanted to start in one of our towns. His town was just not an option. That's
too small.
That is yes, Lord. But for me to be able to do this in my own hometown and do it to homes for which I grew up in. I drive my kids past homes that I actually lived in, and they are floored. You lived in that house?
A shack. You lived in that,
oh my God. But I'm trying to change that stigma. So even when the TV show approached us, they approached us thinking that all the houses that they were seeing on our social media were flips. And they weren't. They were rentals.
Okay.
But we rehabbed our rentals up to flip quality. If we can't live in that flip, or we can't live in that rental, then we are not going to rehab it to that level. So for us, because of the houses and stuff that we grew up in, and I grew up in apartments and homes that you look at now and be like, oh my God,
how does someone live there?
And we're buying these houses. I want to make sure that no other child or single parent like my mother was has to live in those conditions, right? So we're changing the look of the landlord, essentially, and we're holding other landlords accountable. Give a person a nice place to stay, and they'll take care of it.
Let me tell you, the building that we bought in Detroit in Midtown, we were just talking about
unit,
this.
Right?
Yeah, it's a 30-unit building. Yeah. It was I can't believe people were living in that. It were bed bugs. There was, it was really, really in squalor. I'll show you guys some pictures so you can see, but it was awful. I was like, this is inhumane to have people living in these conditions.
Right.
And so we definitely, have fixed everything up, brand new flooring, brand new walls, brand new appliances, brand
Love
new
it.
countertops,
That's
awesome.
awesome.
And we do want to make it affordable housing. And I know that's something that you guys talk about as well, because housing is a huge issue. It's a crisis.
It is a crisis. I mean, I grew up in affordable housing. My mom had a Section 8 voucher. We lived in Roxbury in Boston. If we didn't have that voucher, we wouldn't have been able to afford to live in the neighborhood we lived in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's near and dear to both of our hearts to be able to provide affordable housing, quality housing for people. I mean, and it is a crisis right now across the U.S., affordability on homes.
Yeah, we tell people we are the face of affordable housing because, like Dedric said, his mom was on Section 8 his whole life growing up. My mother didn't qualify for it, making $6 an hour. And this was back in even 88, 89, where she was working 2 jobs, but because she worked at a bank and she made $6 an hour to start, it was $1 too much. So in 88, 89, she's paying $1,000 in rent back then for a 3-bedroom. So what she could have used and took advantage of by having that affordable housing, she didn't have the advantage of. She didn't qualify for any type of food stamps, public assistance,
She couldn't
any
even
of
buy
that.
her first house, even though she worked at a bank and she was giving out loans to her clients and helping them become rich. She couldn't afford her own house as a
Yep, she
single
got
mom.
her first house when we bought it for her, a year ago.
Oh, that's beautiful to be able to do that.
And that's
Thank
the power of real estate and the reason why we got into it, building that generational wealth, taking care of my mother's generation who took care of me, and now being able to transcend and take care of our kids.
I love to see your kids too on the show. You guys teach them a little bit about, the terminologies and real estate so that they're going to be really well educated and equipped when it's time for them to start investing.
Absolutely. They're growing up around the business, right? We didn't
Yep.
have that luxury of growing up around people who were business owners and investors who can teach us. But our kids are in it every day. They drive by properties and they'll see signs of like, hey, we buy houses. And they'll be like, Dad, why isn't your sign out there? We should get that house. Let's get that one.
They'll be I say, that's a wraparound porch. And
Yep.
just making them learn like what everything is. That's a really something that gets embedded, that we think about the things that we learned as kids that we have with us to this day.
Exactly. And most parents don't know how to transition that. And I don't care what business it is. Like I told Dedric, we're not giving our sons anything, right? Because once you give someone something, there's no value to them because they didn't work for it, they didn't earn it, and nor did they understand the struggle that it took to build it. So for us, we made a conscious decision that our kids are going to learn this business from a young age all the way up. They're going to be able to see us do the business. They're going to see what it takes for us to do the business. So when our bodies hit that dirt, what we have built for them is not sold out before our bodies is even cooled. And that's what we see happening because we're buying these people's portfolios.
Right.
Because the children didn't grow up in the business, they saw their parents amass these businesses, these portfolios. Soon as the parents has passed away, they're like, hey, listen, I don't really have any use for it. I don't have nothing to do with real estate. I don't appreciate it. I don't care about it. Listen, what would you give me for it?
Right.
But their parents have spent 40, 50 years building this for them. That's not what I want our children to do. I want them to appreciate and understand the power of it and how this real estate can not just benefit them, but it's going to benefit their children and then their children's children. And that's the true power of real estate. Our struggle should not have, and what we've built and amassed should not really just transcend one generation. It should not just benefit our 2 sons. It has to be able to trickle down to 2 to 3 generations to make sure that's that true generational wealth. That's that Rockefeller money,
And even if you think about how in certain, some people, if you want to do an internship and you're in college, right, it's nice to know that you don't have to pay rent because you have some place where you can live, or you graduate from college and maybe it's a house that your parents have that you can actually now take a job that the salary might not be what you could afford to rent something in, but at least you don't have to worry about that. You're getting the experience and being able to do certain things without having to worry about how much money you're making because you have all these bills to pay. That's a powerful thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, you went to Wesleyan University. I went to Amherst College. I went on a full academic scholarship, right? My mom worked as a secretary. I'm the oldest of three kids. And the kids we went to school with, they all come from legacy and generational wealth. but we didn't, right?
Right.
And me and my wife, we were like, we want to change the narrative in our families. We want to be the first ones where, again, when our kids graduate, we're going to give them each a property that's paid off. So they'll have the option to either be an instant landlord and live off that cash flow. If they want to sell it, there's going to be stipulations. You got to use that money to start a business. You're not just going to sell it and go party, in Europe somewhere. You're going to have to start a business. So that's how we're going to build that wealth.
And Dedric, you guys met in Boston, right?
Yep.
At a gas station.
At a gas station.
What type of game did you have to get Krystal to
man.
even?
He looked good in the suit, Angela. That's really what it was. He looked good in that suit.
No, I was working as a pharmaceutical rep. I had my little suit on, my company car, and I saw her, and she was the most beautiful woman I ever saw. So I approached her, gave her my business card. I wasn't trying to run no game. She gave me her card.
Did you pump her gas for her at least, or?
You the only one who done picked up on it.
I
like
forgot
me.
about getting gas.
You the only one
I was so
who done picked up
mesmerized.
on it. I still to this day give him stripe. I be like, he looked good, but
He didn't
the
pump
only
the gas.
Listen,
negative
we're
is
in the
he didn't pump my
independent
gas.
woman era. I didn't
Oh,
want to get
goodness.
slapped for trying to pump her gas, but I did get the number, and we ended up going on a date, and here we are.
So you were talking to her while she was pumping her own gas?
Yes.
Yep, and
Wow.
she had on
Yes.
sunglasses too. She had on shades, and everything looked perfect, but I had to see the eyes, so I asked her to take her shades off. I wanted to make sure she didn't have a lazy eye because everything else was perfect. So she took them off. We was good. I was like, all right, this is the one right here.
This was the only one who picked up on that, other than me. I thought I was tripping because I sure enough was like, you were good, but you'd been better
I
if
didn't
you'd
put my own gas.
if
I
you-
forgot that
you
I was
did.
even there to get gas after I met you.
But you definitely should have pumped mine.
I
I
know,
give
I
him
should've.
grief about this
As you
every
should.
time.
Okay.
Mhm. Every time.
And where did you guys go on your first date?
So you know how everybody talk about, where they will not be taken
You went to Cheesecake Factory?
and
Right.
stuff. I tell people all the time, our first date was a business meeting.
Okay.
It was a true business meeting. When we sat down, that was a date, but quickly he understood where I was
It
coming
was an
from.
interview. She was interviewing me.
And we were at, what was it,
Joe's American Bar-
Joe's American
Bar and
Bar
Grill.
and Grill.
We used to have that in the mall, in Shore
Right.
Hills Mall. Okay.
That's exactly where we went. And I tell people, we got down to it, and it was, okay, what do you do for work? Are you an entrepreneur? What have you been doing in the entrepreneurship realm?
What's your 3-year
What is
goal?
your 3-year
Sheesh.
goals?
What's
What's
your
your
5-year
5-year
credit
goals?
score?
What's your credit score?
You asked that on the
Oh,
first
I
date?
sure did.
I
First
asked,
date.
Up at work, I had that as a top. Like, could you ask somebody their credit score on a first date? Should you?
She went there.
I
Or
said,
if
what's-
you're a homeowner, should you ask somebody that on a first date?
Yep.
Wow.
What's your credit score?
And it was refreshing for me, right? Because I'm thinking we're going to talk some superficial stuff. But when
Right.
she started hitting me with these hard questions, I'm like, all right, this woman really has her head on straight and she's going somewhere. So that impressed me as a man.
And he asked me, he said, what's your, and I have to say this for people who be like, oh, well, why would you? I said, what's your credit score? He said it was like an 810 or something.
Wow. 810?
And then he was like, well, okay, well, what's yours? What's your credit score? I said 540. He was like, wait, you going to ask
you
me?
gonna ask
How you
me?
going to ask me mine? And I said, listen, it would not have excluded you had you had a 540. But now I know how we need to move and how I need to move. I said, because look, I just rebuilt my credit. I just got everything off. I needed to know whether or not I had to rebuild yours
So
too.
we can't both have bad
Right.
credit.
Krystal, why was your score a 540? What was going
I was coming out of college, and
They give you them credit
they
cards,
give you
that
them
too.
credit
them
cards
Amex
Yeah.
cards.
right on campus, and they're like, here, I done got hit. I had like 2 American Express cards,
Ooh.
and then I had like a
Shopping sprees.
another credit card, and I done went shopping and had no idea. Now,
How
first,
was they going to pay that bill?
They don't
I did
educate
the
you.
same thing in college. I ran my credit card bills to the limit, and then I didn't even open them.
didn't look at them.
Yeah.
They should be illegal because they
Never
get these
look
college
at it.
It
students.
should be.
But
It's
they're on the
predatory behavior.
campuses targeting you.
You get
and
a free T-shirt. You sign them.
girl, yes, they did.
They
And
don't tell you got to pay it back.
my girls
at the
and
end
them
of the
signed
month.
up. I was like, oh, well, come on, let me get
They're
one of
giving
the
out free money.
notifications. And got the little credit cards and went ham in Rhode Island's mall, boy.
But I will say, at least you knew your credit score, because a lot of people wouldn't have even known what their score was. I know I didn't check mine. You know when I felt safe enough to check my credit score? When I was able to, I was going to buy a car, and I wasn't sure if I would be able to do it with Talisa car without my dad co-signing. And so I had him on standby in case I needed him, and I was able to do it. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll check my score now.
So how, you asked how I got an 810 credit score graduating college, right? My mom was a single mom. She was a secretary, but she was very financially intelligent. So she wanted to make sure I was set up properly So when I was in college, she was like, all right, you work your summer job, you're going to buy your furniture, your futon. She was like, what we're going to do is set you up with a secure credit card at the bank, big bank, right? And you got the $500 cash, but I'm going to set you up with a credit card. You're going to charge it, and each month you're going to pay $100 a month on that credit card so you build your credit. So she set me up with things like that. So by the time I graduated college, I had an 800 credit score.
Wow.
And that's what gave me a head start where I bought my first house in Boston at age 25. I bought a 3-family. It was because of what my mom had set up for me.
Okay, Krystal at the gas station. Only thing, he ain't pumped that gas. But other than
That's
that,
why I told you. I mean, I knew he was a keeper then.
And how long before he proposed?
Well, you got to tell the part about how you told me to go. I wasn't ready for you.
Kick rocks.
I wasn't ready for the relationship.
Yeah, because it took him, when we met, I knew I was going to marry him at the gas station. I knew he was the one I was going to marry, literally. I've been dreaming about him for probably 10 years. I just never saw his face. So when he spoke to me and he was like, hey, how you doing? I heard his voice and I was like,
That's him.
Wow, this is him. So I knew it was him. But once we went on that first date and then we would talk on the phone, and it took maybe a week, and he came back. He was like, I really want to be with you. And I was like, you're not ready. He was like, wait,
I was
what?
in my late 20s. I was still partying and living my best life. So she was right. I was not ready, even though I knew she was the one.
And he kept saying, no, I want to be with you. I said, no, you're not
You know
ready.
how we do, fellas.
I said, you're not ready. I said, listen, I want you to go off for a year, travel the world. My exact words were, sow your royal oats. I said, party, ride your motorcycle, travel the world, sleep with girls. I said, go and do
She
you.
got me with that one.
I said, come back in a year. And if you are ready, still ready then, and you want to pursue this, then we'll revisit this. My only stipulation was you couldn't have any children.
Okay.
You cannot. That was the only stipulation I gave him was if you come back with
Don't
a
get nobody
child,
knocked up. That's all.
we will never come to be.
And I didn't believe her, right? Because
Right.
sometimes females, they test guys,
That's a
they test
test,
us, right?
yeah.
And I'm thinking like, all right, how should I answer this? Because if I say the wrong answer, I
How
thought
do
I
I
was
go
being
do
set
this?
up.
Yeah.
I thought I was being set up. But no, she really was like, no, go do you. Right, you got to get some stuff out your system, which was right. I wasn't mature enough to be with a woman like her at the time.
So you went and did that?
Yes, he did.
Reluctantly,
Yes,
I
he
did,
did.
kicking and screaming.
Kicking and screaming. And I had to stop answering my phone so he could really understand that I meant business. Go off for a year, live your life, get this stuff out your system, and then come back. Because I know if I would have forced him, we would have never came to be. Because I know the type of woman I am. You can't just cheat on me and think over and over and over and think that we were going to be good.
Right.
No. So I told him, go and get this stuff out your system. Trust me, if you're ready when you come back, we'll revisit this. A year went around. He came back. I was in a relationship.
Damn, you done moved on.
She was in a whole relationship when I came back. My whole face was cracked. Like, really?
Nowhere in that story did you hear me say I was going to wait. Now, but I did say, if you ready, come on back around in a year.
No, she leaves out that she ghosted me when I came back, and I'm trying to get back in touch with her and rekindle the flame, and she wouldn't answer the phone. She wouldn't
was
respond to
in
text
where?
messages. I'm like, what's going on? So then I go and show up to her apartment, and I'm like, I know she
know
seen
you
me
didn't
call
pop
her.
up.
I popped up. I don't do crazy stuff like this, but her car was outside. So I'm like, I know she's home. So I go into the building. I'm at the door listening. I'm trying to hear her breathe. And at that point, I realized I was crazy. I'm like, I don't do crazy stuff. I'm not the crazy type, right? But I was like, I love this woman. Like, I'm in love. So yeah.
Oh,
And she
my
finally
gosh.
slipped up one day and she answered the phone. I called her like 3 a.m. randomly.
Oh,
she
my
answered
God.
the phone by accident. Like, hello. And she hasn't been able to get rid of me ever since.
So you kicked the other guy to the curb.
Oh, yeah. When he came back around and he woke me up that morning, I said, okay, I promise we'll do lunch. Call me in the morning. We'll set up lunch. We went to lunch. We talked, had a great time. I went back, told him like, hey, it's been great. But I told you previously that, nothing serious would really come from this. But I wish you well.
Damn.
Anything you
I knew
ever
that was
need
temporary.
from me,
I knew the other guys,
definitely
yeah.
don't hesitate to reach out to me. But with all of my ex-boyfriends, any boyfriend I've ever had, we are great friends till this day.
Okay.
And that's because I build upon the friendship first. And so it always supersedes the relationship. So when the relationship ends, our friendship kicks in immediately. There's never any hard feelings. We are great families are still very close. At our wedding, we had 3 of my exes there with their wives,
Dedric, you are
boyfriends. Wives,
with
their
their wives.
girlfriends.
Yeah.
All of them were there with their significant others, their children.
Did you flip some houses for them, or
Some of them have invested in real estate.
okay?
Private investors, because they told Dedric, they said, listen, everyone who's had a conversation with him was like, look, you're never going to believe who she really is. But trust me, she's the real deal. What you see is really going to be what you get with her. So you're never going to have to wonder about her. She's the real deal. They said it's going to shock you. And they told her, like, it's going to shock you that it's a woman out here like her. But when you get to know her, you're going to see she's the real deal. So he's never had to worry about any relationship with me and another man. Any of my exes. One of them cuts his hair till this day. He cut his hair for our wedding. Anytime we go back to Boston, because of the friendships that I've built. And with us, when it comes to real estate, I had to make it because of the type of woman I am. Mm-hmm. Make sure that he understood at all times where I stood. I was very upfront, very honest, and I need to make sure with him, he never had a reason to lie to me.
No,
And he
that's a big
understood
deal.
that.
You trusted this man with your hairline, okay?
Right.
That's serious.
I was a
business.
little nervous.
Yes,
I'm like,
he
yo,
was.
if I get in
Yes,
this
he
chair
was.
and he may jacks my stuff up, we're gonna have a problem. I'm
And
like,
I told him, you right, we gonna have a problem, because then me and him gonna have a problem.
right. I knew she wouldn't set me up for that.
Not
like
at
that.
all, not as much as,
was a
not the
little
way I
nervous,
feel
though.
about a hairline.
But all these qualities seem like they would play well into real estate also.
Oh, absolutely.
These qualities that you bring to relationships, you could tell a lot about a person, and you can tell when somebody's honest, when they're straightforward. Those are things that you need when it comes to real estate.
Yep, that emotional intelligence. And we tell people this all the time, and when they ask, how do we work together as a couple? And so many couples come up to us at these real estate conferences. How do I get my wife into it? How do I get my husband into it? Oh, they're not really into it. Oh, I need to find someone like you because my girlfriend really don't. People come up to me like, hey, should I divorce my wife?
No.
'Cause she won't get on board with the real estate thing. They come up to me crying about it. Like, I'm just lost. And da-da-da. And I tell people the reason why Dedric and I are where we are with the real estate is because, one, that first date that we had / business meeting. And 2, we were equally aligned from that business meeting. I understood what his goals were. Real estate wasn't my goal or my dream, but I knew I could support him in his, and in return transition, and we support me in my goal. How can we work together? And I try to tell people, it's when you're not working together, you're working against each other.
Okay.
And it's just that much harder. So for us, Dedric is the integrator in our business, in our relationship. I'm the visionary. And I have the visions on where we need to move, how we need to move, what's our next move. And Dedric is the integrator on, hey, this is how we need to execute. This is what it's going to take to execute. And I tell people, when having a woman, you have that benefit because you have that emotional intelligence that they bring to real estate. That a lot of men have that tunnel vision. Dedric he has tunnel vision. The numbers. If the numbers don't make sense, he don't hear anything else.
Right.
Whereas I hear what they are saying and what they're not saying. And I give people, for an example, we went all the way to California to close a deal. And we flew out there. Dedric didn't tell me about this couple until we were outside. And I was like, oh, okay, tell me about this couple again. Who are you here to see? And he ran it down. And he told me, he's like, yeah, they're getting a divorce and da-da-da. And the wife is here, the husband's here, the wife's mother is here, who's a realtor, and da-da-da. And they're meeting with us and da-da-da. And I said, oh, okay. Now, we had 5 minutes before we walked into the door. And I said, okay, all right. I said, well, listen, baby, you're going to go in by yourself. He's like, why? Why would I? What do you mean going by myself? I said, listen, you're going to go in by yourself and you're going to close this deal. He was like, no, they know both of us coming. I said, listen, the last thing they need to see is a couple who got it right when they got it wrong. I said, you go in and close the deal. We go in there together, swinging hand in hand, like, oh, yeah, okay.
And they're going through a divorce.
And they're going
It's
through a
not gonna
divorce that's not amicable because one of them have a mother who's a realtor. And I
Right.
told Dedric, I said, her mother's a realtor. So that should tell you he don't trust her mother to even have her mother list their house.
Okay.
So it's that emotional intelligence that a lot of women,
Sixth sense.
that sixth sense that we can pick up on and hear what men can't when they're just with that tunnel vision, numbers.
Laser focus. Yeah.
Listen, you guys, this is amazing, and y'all offer training as well.
Yes.
So for
Yes.
other people, because you said, people might want to get into this. They might be a couple. One person wants to do it, the other doesn't. Where can people find the training?
Yeah, at Be Polite Properties on Instagram, BE Polite Properties. That's our Instagram, all our social media. We do free trainings all the time because, like I said, this information that we learned and we implemented changed our life, and we know it can change other people's family tree. My wife always liked to say it's not about how many doors we own, it's about how many doors can we open for other people through sharing, generational
And it's free
wealth.
training.
Yes, we're doing a free training on March 21st.
Okay.
Go to politewealthportal.com. That's our website, politewealthportal, your portal into wealth.com. And we're excited about it.
And you guys are establishing a nonprofit?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Community Redevelopment Corporation, right?
Yep.
For affordable housing.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'd love to see it. And season 3 on the way?
Oh, listen, locked and
Season
loaded.
3.
Okay.
We're slated to do. We're contracted to do 4 seasons.
Okay, perfect.
So with this merger, this partnership between Hulu and A&E, which is the first that they've ever done, and I had to tell people with the plug, Hulu chose 3 shows out of all of A&E shows. 3 shows that they wanted to bring onto their platform for the first time. One was Big Boys, RV flipping. Other one was a cooking show with Rachel Ray.
Okay.
And then our little show.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Don't call it Lil.
Right, our show. And we got 1 season in where they got like 20 under their belt with their history. So we were super, super excited about that. So now they were talking spinoffs. They're talking season 3. When are we going to be ready? So we're definitely going to come back even stronger.
Okay, I love it. Well, make sure you guys watch 50-50 Flip. You can still watch seasons 1 and 2 on Hulu right now. So that's on A&E also.
Yes.
Okay, Dedric and Krystal Polite. Thank y'all so much. Is that the real last name too?
That's
Yes,
the real
last name.
Our motto is it costs nothing to be polite.
Oh, that's nice. We love it.
We appreciate you for having us, Angela.
Well, thank
Thank
you guys for
you.
coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
True fans, Angela.